My name is Warren Cole, and for the last 4 years, I've worked the overnight shift at Hollowmere Cemetery, a county burial ground about 3 miles outside a town most people only pass through on their way to somewhere better. 9 at night to 5 in the morning, 5 nights a week. It isn't hard work. People assume it must be frightening, sitting alone in a graveyard in the dark, but for a long time, it was the most peaceful job I'd ever had. Quiet. Predictable. Just me, a thermos of coffee, and a few thousand people who were never going to give me any trouble. That's what I used to tell myself. Let me describe the place so you understand. Hollowmere sits at the end of a gravel road, fenced on all 4 sides with chain link. There's a front gate for vehicles and a smaller maintenance gate at the back. A little booth by the entrance where I keep the logbook and the radio and the electric kettle. The grounds run in 3 sections. The front rows are new. Flat markers, mowed grass, the occasional plastic flower. The middle is older, maybe 40, 50 years, the stones leaning the way old teeth lean. And then there's the back, the unmarked section. Iron tags instead of headstones, most of them rusted past reading. Nobody planned the back section the way the rest was planned. The rows don't line up. The ground isn't level. You feel it, walking it, even if you can't say why. When I started, the man I replaced, an older guy named Denny, sat me down in that booth and slid a laminated index card across the desk. 7 rules, typed, worn soft at the corners from handling. I laughed. I thought it was a hazing thing, the kind of joke you play on the new guy on the night shift. Denny didn't laugh. He said, "Read them until you know them without the card. And Warren, the card's not the rules. The rules are the rules. The card just reminds you." Then he left, and I never saw him again. I'm going to read you the card, because after 4 years, I've come to believe every word on it. And because if you ever find yourself taking a job like mine, you should know these before your first night, not after. Rule 1. Lock both gates by 9 sharp. Once they're locked, they stay locked until sunrise. It does not matter who is standing on the other side, what they say, or whose voice they use. You do not open a gate before the sun is up. Rule 2. Walk your rounds every hour, on the hour. Never walk the same route 2 hours in a row. Something out there learns patterns. Rule 3. In the back section, you keep moving. Don't stop. Don't sit. Don't kneel to tie your shoe. If you absolutely have to stop, keep your eyes on the ground, count to 10 out loud, and then walk on. Rule 4. If you hear someone call your name from the tree line, do not answer and do not go and look. No one who works here comes out at night. Nothing that belongs here will ever call you from the trees. Rule 5. In row 3, you'll sometimes see a woman in a gray coat. She comes to visit. Nod, say "Good evening," and keep walking. Do not ask her who she's looking for. Do not help her read the stones. Rule 6. There is one grave in the back with no name. A flat iron marker gone orange with rust. Check it on every round. If there is ever a fresh flower on it, you do not finish your shift. You lock up and you leave before dawn, and you do not come back until the following night. Rule 7. If you ever break one of these, don't tell yourself it was nothing. Write it down. Tell whoever takes the next shift. That's how these get passed on. That's the only reason I'm here, to pass them to you. For 3 years, nothing on that card cost me anything. I locked the gates. I varied my rounds. I said good evening to the woman in gray maybe a dozen times. She's always in row 3, always facing the same weathered stone, and she never once turned to look at me. I checked the nameless grave every hour, and it was always bare. The rules became a rhythm, like checking your mirrors when you drive. You stop asking why. Then, last October, I broke one. It was a slow night. Cold, no wind, the kind of quiet where you can hear the gravel settle. I'd done my 1 o'clock round, and I was back in the booth with my coffee when I heard it. Someone said my name. Not loud. From the direction of the tree line at the back of the property. A soft, patient, Warren. The way you'd call a dog that already knows it's in trouble. And here's the thing I have to be honest about. It sounded like Denny, the man who trained me. The same flat, tired voice that slid that card across the desk. Rule 4. I knew Rule 4. But 3 years is a long time to be right about nothing happening. And some part of me had started to believe the card was superstition after all. So I stood in the doorway of the booth, and I looked toward the trees, and I said, "Denny?" The calling stopped. Everything stopped. The gravel, the far-off road, the low electric hum of the one working lamp, all of it gone. Like the whole graveyard had inhaled at once and was holding it. I have never in my life heard a silence with weight to it. And in that silence, from the tree line, something took a single step toward me. I didn't see it. I heard it. One footstep in the dead leaves, and it was closer than any voice from the trees had any right to be. I went back inside and I locked the booth door, which is not a rule but felt like one. I sat with my back to the wall and I watched the little window until the sky went gray. Nothing knocked. Nothing called again. When the sun finally came up, I walked out to my car on legs that didn't feel like mine, and I told myself I'd imagine the footstep. I did what Rule 7 says, though. I wrote it down. I don't know why. Habit, maybe. Denny's voice in my head. The next night is the one I actually want to tell you about. Because the next night, on my midnight round, I came around the corner into the back section, and there was a flower on the nameless grave. A single white carnation, fresh, the stem still wet, laid across that rusted iron marker like someone had set it down 30 seconds before I arrived. Rule 6. Leave before dawn. No question, no delay. And I would have. I swear to you I would have. Except that as I turned to go, I saw her. The woman in the gray coat. Except she wasn't in row 3. She was standing in the back section, in the unmarked graves where she has never once been in 3 years, maybe 40 feet from me, facing the tree line with her back to me the way she always does. And she was standing perfectly still over a patch of ground where there is no marker at all. Rule 5 says nod, say good evening, keep walking. But you're not supposed to meet her in the back. The card doesn't cover that. There's no rule for that. And I understood, standing there with my heart going like a fist on a door, that the reason there's no rule for it is that it isn't supposed to be possible. I did the only thing the card gave me. I kept my eyes on the ground, Rule 3. And I started to walk out, counting under my breath, and I heard the gray coat move. Fabric, dragging over stone, coming with me, matching me step for step, just off my shoulder. Close enough that if I turned my head, I'd have been looking straight into a face I'd spent 3 years being careful never to see. I counted. I walked. I did not look. I made the front gate, and my hands were shaking so badly it took 3 tries to work the lock. And the whole time that dragging sound was right behind me, patient, unhurried, waiting to see if I'd break the last rule I had left. I got the gate open. I stepped through. I locked it behind me from the outside, which meant technically, gloriously, I had broken Rule 1. I'd opened a gate before dawn, and I did not care. Because on the far side of that chain link, the dragging sound simply stopped. Like a phone call ending. Like it had never been there at all. I sat in my car in the gravel lot until the sun came up. When it did, I walked back to the fence and looked in. Row 3, where the woman in gray always stands, was empty. And on the nameless grave in the back, I could just make out, even from that distance, that the white carnation was gone. I still work at Hollowmere. I know how that sounds, but I've thought about it a lot, and here's where I've landed. Denny didn't quit the night before I started. Nobody told me that directly, but I've read the logbook back far enough now to know there was a 2-week gap before I was hired, and no entries in it, and 1 line in Denny's handwriting on the last night he worked. It just says, "Flower on the back grave, staying to finish rounds." He broke Rule 6. He stayed. And the reason I'm the one reading you this card instead of him, the reason Rule 7 exists at all, is that somebody has to be here to pass it on. Somebody always has to be here. So write them down. Learn them before your first night. And if you're ever standing in a cemetery at 3 in the morning and you hear a tired, familiar voice call your name from the trees, I don't care how long nothing's gone wrong. Don't answer.